welcome along to the next instalment of our Smart Landlord campaign for 2019, running throughout January here on Property Tribes. And when I think of a smart landlord, well, one person that jumps to mind is my guest, Richard Blanco, who is NLA representative and also long-time landlord. And Richard, I think we have to point out that we're recording this before the budget, so things could have cropped up in the budget that might change landlord views. But nonetheless, what is your view of what makes a smart landlord?
Well, I think it's really important to have a clear set of values and also a business plan and strategy. So you know where your portfolio is going, you've set clear criteria for the types of properties and tenants and geographic areas where you want to invest. And then also that you're really on top of the finances, so make sure you're remortgaging onto the best possible rates so that you're really getting as much profit out of the portfolio as possible. I also think getting the right tenant is really important, and I put a lot of time and energy into that now. I always meet my tenants before they go through referencing, so I check that I'm happy with them, and once that they're in place, I have an induction meeting with them, really establish a good strong bond with them really, and so I want to feel comfortable and happy with my tenants and the relationship that I have with them. So I think also kind of keeping an eye on regulation, making sure you join a landlord association like the National Landlord Association so that you're staying on top of things. I think being accredited is essential. It shows that you're serious and that you're on top of your game. And also coming to events like the Property Investor Show, you know, just to mix with colleagues, find out what's going on, keep on top of issues, and going to landlord meetings and landlord forums, keeping in touch with websites like Property Tribes as well is all important.
Fantastic, thank you. We're always saying that one thing landlords don't like is uncertainty. Whilst we can't control what government is doing, we can control what we're doing, and I think what you've said is that a smart landlord is a proactive landlord. They're not waiting for something to go wrong and then trying to solve that. They're much more in kind of prevention and preventative mode.
Absolutely, I'm all for planning. I mean, I have the kind of tables or spreadsheets where I'm thinking 3 or 4 months ahead, which property's coming up for renewal, you know, where tenancies are coming up for renewal, planning ahead in that way. I've always got a list of which mortgage products are coming to an end this year, so planning ahead. And also risk assessing changes that are coming forward. The classic one is Section 24. It's really vital that you know what your tax bill is going to be on the 31st of January 2022 once all of those changes have been phased through, so that you can think ahead. I'm already starting to save extra money in an ISA, so I hope it might go up a bit before I have to pay it. You know, that sort of forward planning I think is really important.
Do you think the smart landlord is also going to be a landlord that gets the right team of advisors around them? So I'm talking a reputable mortgage broker, tax advisor, regulated letting agent, maybe a good handyman builder, the whole team that can support them in being efficient and providing a good product.
Absolutely, yes, and it's important that you think beyond the high street accountants these days in property, because unfortunately a lot of them are not expert on some of the stuff that you need to be on top of now. Having that good team around you is really important, and I always recommend try and find the ideal builder when you're not doing building works, because you're not in the middle of all the stress and so on. Go and see a few builders and their work. It can take ages to get the right tradespeople in place, so do a bit of research. Read journals like Property Investor News, because you'll hear from people like Lisa Orme and Simon Allen and some of the best people in the business for things like mortgages and mortgage broking. I think what we're aiming for is a critical analysis, critical awareness, a complex understanding of what is a complex business. You've got to get beyond the superficial, really, if you're going to stay lean and mean and smart in this new environment.
Yes, You were at the panel here at the Property Investor Show earlier, and one of the big things that the whole panel wanted to get across is that the game has changed. You can't be what I would call a dabbling landlord anymore. You've got to really be immersed in the sector, immersed in understanding your business.
Absolutely, but I would say, look, you don't need to spend thousands and thousands of pounds on going on seminars. If you join a landlord association and go on some of the courses and go along to networking meetings and, you know, read some of the great stuff you've got on your website and so on, you will pick up a lot of the nuts and bolts. There are some good books out there as well. We're not seeing the 100,000 newbies coming in a year that we used to, but we're seeing, you know, a few thousand who have got their heads screwed on and they're really looking at the tax situation, the mortgage situation, and they know that they've got to fully understand how it all works now. As you say, the days of the accidental landlord or the armchair dabbler are long gone, I think.
In a way, I think that's actually could be quite healthy for the sector, because we're all agreement that standards do need to be raised, and professionalizing everything is going to make things better for our very, very valued clients, aka tenants. And I know that you like to refer to tenants as customers or clients rather than tenants.
Well, yes, I mean, I think the landlord-tenant relationship is very important. I think a lot of what we do is about customer service, actually. And, you know, I always suggest that landlords think about their favourite supermarkets and try and sort of aspire to that sort of level of customer service.
And loyalty. And
loyalty as well, yes, absolutely. And, you know, I think it's very important to be tenant-centred. I do think that the property business, 60 to 70% of it is about dealing with people. And you know, we've had a lot of talk about regulation in 2018, but I think we need to talk more about the softer skills of managing relationships, of negotiating with people, of sitting down and talking rather than slapping a Section 21 notice down. You know, I want to see landlords get much better at those sorts of people skills.
That's awesome, Richard. Thank you so much. So if we just finish with, what would you say your #1 top tip for being a smart landlord in 2019? I think you may have nailed it there by saying develop your people skills, because I think that's a really wonderful thing that you've said.
I think I might go with that, yes. Yeah. Develop your people skills in 2019. Get really good at dealing with tenants and all of your team.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me and being part of our Smart Landlord campaign 2019. Sure you'll agree, fantastic contribution there from Richard. Thanks, Richard, and Happy New Year.
My pleasure. Happy New Year to you too.